There's only one Deontay Wilder. Ireland, I'm here, baby. Your champ, the myth, the legend, the knockout artist, the king. I'm here, baby. Just left the Fury weigh-ins, and oh my God, was it crazy? Oh man. Hey, it's gonna be a hell of a fight. I done lost my voice and everything. Like the intensity, oh man, I can't even talk right now. I can't wait. Fury, you win your fight. It's me and you, boy. I can't wait.
They're selling y'all wolf tickets, people. You're eating them right up.
Hey, pussy, are you still there?
I back. Trust me, I back.
But I'm not impressed by your performance.
You'll do nothing. You'll do nothing. Shut your fucking mouth, you'll do nothing. You'll do fucking nothing. Not one of you will do nothing.
I'll tell you what, bro. I was out there, I was fighting all the hitters, bro. You ain't fought no hitters.
Come on, guys. It's normal.
I'm not saying I would fight you. I would kill you.
John, do you think I'm just gonna sit there and let you kill me, John? I mean, really?
No, don't be scared, homie. I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The double champ does what the fuck he wants.
I'm gonna beat you into the living death. I mean, maybe that's your job, but where I come from, people like that get slapped.
That's fucking illegal.
Nick, you just shook up the world. How's that feel?
Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
Yeah, this is a simulated death match. And you haven't simulated anybody's death yet.
I said it last year. We're not here just to take part. We're here to take over.
What is the game plan going in against him?
The game plan is you go in there, hit him with some good shit, don't get hit, and come home with a pocket full of cash.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Everybody's on steroids. The whole UFC, everybody.
I'm gonna go home tonight. I'm gonna drink a Coors Light. That's a Coors Light because Bud Light won't pay me nothing.
Do you want to be a fighter? That is my question.
Any of you radio personalities think you want smoke? Call me Mr. Jimmy. I want smoke.
Yes. What is up? MCR family, another daily edition of the show live on YouTube, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. in the UK to discuss all things boxing, MMA, and everything in between. Obviously on podcast form on iTunes, Spotify, our radio, all that stuff. Hit the like button, share, subscribe, all that YouTube shit to the side. Because it was a interesting morning, to say the least, as you heard in the clip to start the show. Deontay Wilder making his presence known in Belfast, it seems, to put it lightly. Definitely cannot wait to chop up that one. But quickly before I do that, as customary, shout out to everyone in the chat. Leonard Sterling, Bayside Boxing, Boxing and Blunt, Jonathan Fitch, Rick, aka Pound for Pound supporter right there. I should probably make him a moderator because he huge supporter on Patreon. Thank you, Rick. Rob, aka Robbie Hearn, over there at TBV. Potential Lunatic. I think I mentioned Jonathan already. Yes, Jonathan. Fugatti. Whatever. Hi, Fugatti. Guess you're here. Benjamin Franklin. Who else? Unbiased Boxing. Everyone else. I know Real Nija, Kyle, other sort of Pound for Pound supporters will be here soon. But yes, let's get into it because obviously, it's a Friday. It's sort of kind of a slow day, beside Wilder, Fury, and all of that great stuff. And I'm not going to show the clip from the weigh-in, but there's that clip out there. You can go find it, which really started this all off. Deontay Wilder crashing the weigh-in of Tyson Fury and Francisco Pineta at the Carl Frampton Luke Jackson card, obviously at that weigh-in as well. And, Screaming Bomb Squad, the usual stuff. Him getting in sort of an argument with Papa John Fury on stage. The older Fury is always very interesting because I've dealt with Peter Fury quite a bit when I was over at TBV, and just an interesting family, to put it lightly. And, but nothing really happened with Tyson at that point. It was mainly with John Fury, so nothing that big. And then, obviously, they had not altercation, because we're gonna break it down and all that stuff when we get into the clip itself. John Jonathan Fitch saying Papa John, haha. Yes, that is a double entendre. But to digress slightly, let's get to the video that definitely is going viral with the back and forth between Deontay Wilder and obviously Tyson Fury.
I'm ready to get it. I want you down in front row. Sit it. I'm going to knock you out. I'm going to spot you out. I'm going to spot you out.
And I know for maybe podcast listeners, they obviously aren't seeing that, so maybe it's hard to tell what's happening. Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury in the lobby of the hotel, screaming, arguing at each other, huge crowd there, a lot of media, and obviously security separating them because they were, quote-unquote, going at each other. I put it this way. For everyone saying that it's obviously for show, they were barely keeping it together. They were both laughing and smiling during all of that. Yeah, you're right. I think that's kind of obvious that these two guys don't dislike each other. In fact, they've said in the media the opposite for quite a long time, that they are friendly to each other. They text each other quite often, especially when Tyson Fury was making his comeback, trying to get down in weight. Deontay was pretty supportive from behind the scenes. Obviously, maybe not as much in public, but behind the scenes, from what he told me, he was in contact with Tyson Fury on the regular basis because, in a sense, they respect each other. And I think that's the same with Joshua, to be honest. I think all of this is a little bit for show, but that's fine. I think for people being negative about it in that way, my retort would be, yeah, this is boxing. Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis put on a show in the build-up for that fight. They didn't hate each other at all. Go back and watch some of those build-up videos and stuff. You sort of see it be, again, a sort of WWE, WWF factor, and that's, I think, fine. I think the sport needs that a little bit. Regardless of what you think about this interaction between them, it's definitely putting eyeballs onto the sport. And that is always a net positive, bringing more people into the circle that is boxing. So I'm completely fine with it. They need to promote this fight if they're going to make it, and this is how they promote it. And I think if they actually get, it done and contract signed by next week or something like that, after this fight tonight or tomorrow night, I should say, yeah, I'm okay with this being the start of the build-up. You can always play the video from the first time when Fury stepped in the ring with Wilder, I believe, in Alabama. So this fight has build-up already, and I think it's them doing this is just furthering to help that build up and that hype for this fight. Because regardless of your opinion on it, your criticism of it, it's definitely trending in a way. People are noticing. And just look at the clips of Wilder walking around Belfast. I mean, everyone's recognizing him. That's a good thing. But yes, that is basically all I really have on this particular topic because, it is what it is. It's not like there's a lot to talk about here and break down. Dwayne saying, I love it. It was entertaining. And I think that's all it should be. You be entertained by it. I think as boxing fans or as me as a media, we become quite cynical because of the way this sport treats us, especially as the consumer. It has always treated us poorly. So we are naturally cynical, especially as hardcores, because we deal with it on basically a daily basis, right? However, I think moments like these are fun. They can be entertaining. And yeah, it's not like they actually hate each other, but that's fine. Like, I'm okay with them putting on a show. Potential Lunatic actually asking a good question before I jump off this topic. I say, any thoughts on Tyson's weight, Matt? I believe it was the same weight he, who did he fight? Was it Cunningham? No, that sounds wrong. Who am I thinking of? I forget for what it was, but he's, like, I believe only 10 pounds over when he fought Klitschko, which I believe he was the lightest for his professional career in that fight. I think it's awesome. I think his weight is getting down properly. It seemed like he has done it in a healthy, smart manner. He's put a good team around him. I think it's phenomenal. And obviously, let's say this fight, in talking about Tyson Fury Wilder down the line, if this happens in November or October, or is it November, December, they're discussing. That's what Shelley Finkel said per IFL. They're talking about New York and Las Vegas. I'll talk about that actually briefly before I jump off topic, as I reminded myself about that. I think Fury is probably going to get down another 5 pounds at least by then. So you're thinking about, he weighed in 258 for this fight. He's probably going to get down maybe to 253, 250 by December or November. I think Fury necessarily may not be back in terms of just being completely dialed in, but his weight I think, should no longer be an issue. That narrative is, okay, he's good now. Now it's about, can he get dialed in again? Can he get the boxing skills back? Just the natural IQ, the fluidity that he had at one point. And even that, I think, is obviously slightly romanticized, but to digress, that is the next thing. I think his weight is no longer that much of an issue, to be quite honest. Now, on the Las Vegas, New York, what venue, what date, I think it's really determinant, obviously, on what's going to happen with Spence Garcia. And we're obviously going to see, hopefully soon, what happens with that one. And just these two fights in conjunction. I think what happens with either of them is in correlation with the other. Spence Garcia, Wilder Fury, especially in terms of Showtime, the network, what they're planning. I think this fight obviously makes a lot of sense in New York. But I feel like New York is the Dallas Cowboys Stadium to this fight. And if you're listening to and you don't get that reference, anytime there's a big Mexican fight, basically Canelo Triple G, for example, it's always talked about in Dallas Cowboys Stadium. And guess what? It's always in Vegas. Because big money fights in today's current paradigm still, even though it is, I think, slightly changing, Vegas is where a lot of money is at. And if you haven't listened to the show yesterday, please go back and listen to it. Because I did a segment on dark money in the sport of boxing. Vegas is a huge reason or contributor to that unknown fund that is floating out there in boxing. That is giving these fighters huge paychecks on the back end, even on the front end, that just economically makes no sense. Wayne saying Wilder can't fill no stadium. I think you misunderstand my point entirely, Wayne. It's the idea that the Dallas Cowboys Stadium is the fan favorite venue for the Triple G Canelo matchup. Respectively, New York, Barclay, MSG, whatever it is, probably going to be the Barclays if they go there, or if that's the plan, or if they're even talking about it. That is the fan-friendly event, especially for the UK crowd. It's a relatively quick flight, fun touristy city for obviously the UK crowd coming in. And obviously, it's, I would say, but you have more fans there. Like, people have to fly into Vegas. Like, everyone that's probably going to actually attend that fight, I shouldn't say everyone, most people, obviously, have to fly into Vegas. For New York, I think they're going to collect a large percentage of the audience, obviously, from the New York tri-state area, and then, obviously, the UK people flying in an easier, cheaper flight for them. But Vegas is going to offer up a huge lump sum. That's what I'm saying. Oh, my God. Tongue-tied right there. And they're going to get the fight, if it happens. I believe somebody said in the chat about Atlanta. I forget who it was. Oh, the Boxing Idiot. Atlanta would be like the Mexico City to keep that comparison going. And it's just, I've been saying forever that Atlanta is a huge market that boxing and just overall combat sports is not tapping into. And it's rather unfortunate. And even, I would say, like professional sports, like, not professional sports, I should say, mainstream sports, like basketball, baseball, football. Atlanta's always sort of a side market, which makes zero sense in terms of marketing dollars, attention, overall team, I would say history, like the Falcons, the Hawks, they don't have that big of a history. I know this is going off topic in terms of what sport, but I think it's also correlated that Atlanta is just a forgotten about market that I think is a treasure trove, especially for boxing. It makes perfect sense to throw Deontay Wilder and the Charlos, etc., on cards in Atlanta. Makes complete sense, but digress enough for that. Rob saying, Matt, stop. You're talking about a fight with no date or venue. Well, of course we're not. Contract's not signed. So I don't know. It's okay. Leonard Stone saying, Matt, his body is not the same. I think it could be an issue. It looked better at 260 pounds versus Hammer than does at 258 today. Are we going to... Okay, I'm going to go there. And trigger warning. And I know the Furies might hear this. No, they won't. Come on. Obviously, Tyson Fury tested positive for Nanderone, and I believe another steroid, maybe clenbuterol as well, but that's not a steroid, that's just a PD. But he 100% tested positive for Nanderone, and obviously, he settled out of court with UCAD and got a retroactive suspension. So he still got suspension for PEDs. And I know that's kind of a sore subject, and I'm obviously not one to really, hit the drum or bang the drum for this narrative, and in terms of any fighter, really. Jonathan Fitch saying wild boar, he claimed, yeah. I think that could be obviously a contributing factor to the way, as you say, Leonard, the way his body looks. Because obviously his muscle definition seems a little bit different. I will give you that. When you look at prime pictures of Tyson Fury, he was never Anthony Joshua or even a Deontay Wilder in terms of physique. He was better shaped. He had better muscle density. So that could obviously be a factor, I would say. But moving on from all of that, because that's just a rabbit hole. You know how it is. I talked a little bit about this yesterday. Gervonta Davis versus Abner Mares. And at that point, it was just a Twitter exchange between the two of them. And obviously today, Floyd Mayweather puts out this makeshift poster saying Mayweather Promotions presents Gervonta Tank Davis versus Abner Mares, 2018 Showtime logo, all this. And obviously it's not a professional one because there's no date, there's no venue. This is not being officially announced yet. But, I mean, this basically seems like Gervonta Davis versus Abner Mares is being announced. And yesterday, I kind of really didn't delve into it too much. I didn't really think it was going to happen. But now it seems like it's going to happen. And I have not seen one positive take on this fight from the media or fans in social media, comment sections, nothing. Everyone has been pretty upset about this matchup. And I kind of agree with them. I think the obvious fight is Gervonta Davis versus Tevin Farmer. Regardless of difference promoter, I don't care about that. That is the obvious fight. Both are free. Make it happen. We just saw Gervonta Davis beat up a 126-pounder coming off a loss and Jesus Cuellar. Why do we want to see that with Abner Mares? It is not a good idea. First off, the fight is not competitive, in my opinion. Not because of boxing skill. I think Abner Mares, you can make the argument. I may not buy it, but you make the argument that he's probably the better overall boxer than Gervonta Davis. But size is going to be a huge factor, and especially the power of Gervonta Davis. This is not going to be a fight that ends well, in my opinion, for Mares. Legendary Boxer saying, I think he meant to say if. Well, Legendary Boxer, just call in. We're going to take callers relatively soon. We're going to fly by the MMA portion, and we're relatively halfway through with the news. Call in. We can talk about that on air. But I just think, again, the obvious fight is Tank Davis versus Tevin Farmer. I don't want to see Gervonta Davis fighting a guy moving up a weight class coming off a loss. we didn't like it when other guys did it. Why would I like it now? You know, like it just makes no sense. And I hope they honestly see how much of a reaction they get that's negative and they don't make it. You know, I think it makes zero sense to have this fight other than to potentially give Davis a big, emphatic knockout win over a name that's been around for a while in Abner Mares. And there's plenty of boxers that have good quality names in the lower weight classes towards the end of their career, moving up, and they beat them. Floyd Mayweather did that to Juan Manuel Marquez. You know, the list goes on and on and on. And it just, Tank Davis literally just did it against Jesus Cuellar. So it's all right. It is what it is. Showtime's going to probably air it. If they put on another good fight, it might do 600,000 views. Woohoo. That's what it is. Per Gray Johnson over at BoxRec, sort of letting the cat out of the bag here, that Kubrat Pulev versus Hughie Fury will land on ESPN Plus, and on that same day, DAZN will have Regis Prograis versus Terry Flanagan, and HBO will have Dana Jacobs versus Sergey Derevchenko. And I believe there's a UFC card that day as well. That would be a loaded, competitive Saturday night ratings war right there. I cannot wait to see what happens, especially with all those fights. No, sorry. 2 of those fight cards happening in the U.S. One of them happening in Europe and Bulgaria. You know, with the time difference help with them. Obviously, we won't know the viewership probably for ESPN Plus and DAZN cards. Just like we don't know viewership for Netflix events and movies and stuff like that. Wayne saying, Matt, that's 2 days old news. No, it's not official. Pulev versus Fury is 2 days old news. It being on ESPN Plus is not official and a rumor that I'm talking about. Wayne, it's okay. I know it's a little bit hard to follow there. They're just reading the chat. Interesting. Rob saying, which fight is the best? Probably Daniel Jacobs versus Sergey Derevchenko. And it's on a bigger network, obviously. If Pulev versus Fury was on regular ESPN, that might compete in terms of ratings, but even that, no. You know, it is what it is. But I like all those fights. Prograis versus Flanagan, fantastic fight. I believe they're doing it, I forget where. I know they're doing it in the U.S. That's been all the rumors. But yeah, can't wait to see who wins out in that ratings war. Moving over to MMA, and it's not a long day for news. Quick sort of PFL, sort of not breakdown. I'm just going to tell you that Ray Cooper III and Kayla Harrison won in dominating fashion. And just really, I think PFL, they need to push these 2 names. Kayla Harrison being a 2-time Olympic gold medalist in judo. Ray Cooper having 2 back-to-back huge knockout victories. One against Jake Shields, which is a veteran in the game. You can put a lot of money behind these guys, and they could potentially do something on NBC Sportsnet. But yeah, and let's move on to the rest of the news. Remember, call in. I haven't even said the number, I feel like. 323-870-4051. Call in. We do not have the Skype line up yet, unfortunately. I do apologize. I will hopefully get that up by tomorrow. Kyle saying, you believe in Ray Cooper III, Matt? I believe he can be what Justin Gaethje was for the World Series of Fighting. You know, I don't think he has the super high ceiling that we see some prospects obviously have in like the regional scene, but he's good. He obviously has power. His combination work on the inside is pretty decent. His boxing's pretty decent. Obviously, there's some balance issues, overall like form and technique issues, but that should be expected at this level and just overall in MMA when it comes to striking. I haven't really got a sense of his grappling yet, but beating Jake Shields helps. That's just my opinion. I think he's definitely somebody that could do something for that promotional company if he keeps winning the way he has, because these are highlight reel knockouts that are going viral in a sense. Moving on to some other news in the day. Mike Bond over at MMA Junkie saying that Luke Rockhold has told him he hasn't signed to fight Chris Weidman in New York City and won't do so until he gets a better contract. This is sad. First, you had the whole Romero-Costa situation where the UFC announced it. They came out, the fight wasn't signed. They still have been announcing it, and we still do not know if the fight is signed. Now, this UFC 230 also doesn't have a main event or even a title fight attached to it. A lot of talk of who it could be, whether it be John Jones, GSP. John Jones finally re-entering the testing pool for USADA, and they still not have dealt with his positive test from his last fight. There's still been no arbitration, no conclusion of that case. I don't know what's happening with the UFC 230, but them potentially losing two of their better fights and also not having a main event is a big concern and red flag. I know a lot of people are mentioning GSP and John Jones. I don't think GSP does it. He mentioned Toronto. I don't think New York is really on his mind. Plus, I don't think they have a fighter really that he will, be psyched for at this point. He wants the winner of Khabib Conor, and that's obviously not going to happen. I just don't know what they do with this card. John Jones is a distinct possibility, especially since, who knows, we can just all of a sudden have it where USADA comes to a conclusion where they've agreed to a retroactive suspension that's 6 months or something like that, and we're back in it where John Jones versus Gustafsson for an interim title, something like that. God knows, but they're going to have to pull something out of the hat here for this card, and if it's John Jones, just do not be surprised. Talking about that same division, 205, Ariel Helwani breaking the news. I want to say it was last night. Leonard Sterling saying, "This is where Matt show goes over my head. Don't watch UFC at all." I do apologize for some of the boxing fans that want to stay through, obviously, till the callers. I'm going to figure out a system for that heading forward. But digressing. Ariel Helwani breaking the news that Thiago Santos has emerged as a front-runner to fight Jimi Manuwa on short notice for the UFC Fight Night Sao Paulo event. This will be Thiago Santos moving up to light heavyweight. And on top of that, Shamarkar Sandhu updating this, saying sources have told him Jimi Manuwa has signed his bout agreement to fight Thiago Santos. Ooh. Cannot wait for that fight. I think Thiago Santos is one of the most underrated fighters in the UFC. And also, I think at 205, he can make some noise, in my opinion, easily. I think he already has a win over Anthony Smith, who just had a huge win over Shogun Rua and Rashad Evans back-to-back. Thiago Santos can make some noise in this, barren division. But that is it for news, ladies and gentlemen. We will head into callers. Remember, 323-870-4051. Call in as we get over to the callers. I wonder if Rob is... No, Rob's not here. Yep, Rob's not in the secret hotline. Ducking this work. But who is not ducking this work is Legendary Boxer. Legendary Boxer, how you doing, man? Having a good day?
What's going on, guys? What's going on, man? Let me speak this time. Don't be fucking filibustering and shit like a politician.
Hey. At least I don't have a clock on you, at least. I don't have a clock on you. It's okay.
I know. But, dude, I don't understand the negative reaction. Like, I've been watching videos on ESPN for like 6 months at least. Robert Garcia told Nelly that we really won the tank fight. So they've probably been trying to move up to 130. And if a guy like Lomachenko, who's supposed to be this boxing god, can fight guys like Jason Sosa, who I thought came off a loss. He didn't win the fight before the Loma fight. And even Mariaga lost the fight before he fought Loma. So I don't really see why tank a guy that's growing up. He's like fucking 22 years old. He's still learning. He's not some fucking prodigy who's been fighting since like Or I mean, yeah, he has been fighting since like a kid, but he doesn't have like 400, 500 amateur fights. So if he wants to fight Mares, who's like a 3-time champion, who I think he could teach Tank a few things, and he's going to be using that jab with Robert Garcia. Mares has been an improved fighter, so I don't hate this fight. I don't love it, but dude, look at Farmer. The kind of shit he's been saying, even on the May versus Matt card. I remember Ness went to his gym and asked him, "Why don't you fight on this card?" He's like, "Because I don't need Tank. I'll be my star my own self." Like that's the kind of mentality he has. Because he knows in his deep down inside his heart, if he ever got in the ring with Tank, he would be destroyed. And I don't think he wants to get destroyed right now because he just got his belt. You know, he wants one or two defenses. So that's why. And even Leonard Ellaby said 2 weeks ago, "We really want the Farmer fight." I'm sure they sent DeBello offer maybe like 100K, and he probably wanted more because this kid is making like 50K. He probably made 50K for that Billy Dip fight.
Well, let me jump in.
Like a fucking.
Sorry, let me jump in here quickly because you mentioned a few points. I think objectively, Davis versus Mares is better than Lomachenko versus Mariaga, which is a fighter moving up a division to fight, an elite name, right? That's a comparison we can use. Mares is a former champion. Mariaga is not. It's objectively better. However, it still should not be happening. And you asked the question, Lomachenko did this, why can't Davis do the same? Davis can. That's why it most likely will happen. Should it happen? Should Davis be fighting Mares next? I don't think so, and I think you probably don't think so.
I don't understand all the negative reaction from these writers like Steve Kim and Dougie Fish and all the shit. I don't really get that. Because whenever Loma has these kind of fights and he's going to be fighting Beltran or Pedraza next, who the fuck wants to watch that? Those guys, like Tank would knock those guys out in like fucking 3 rounds. I mean, he knocked out, Pedraza in 7 rounds, and Lomachenko possibly might be fighting him next. So, these guys are fighting whoever the fuck they're fighting, but I don't think it's a bad fight. I think Mares is going to last 6, 7, 8 rounds. Mares is probably going to be the toughest Tank fight since the Pedraza fight. I don't think Tank's had a tough fight, like 7, 8 round fight since the Pedraza fight, right? Because he's had some short outings.
Yeah, because he hasn't fought anyone that's tough. Like that's the criticism, is that Liam Walsh and Jesus Cuellar aren't those guys, and Abner Mares, even though we both know that he's a talented boxer, still is not that guy.
I don't think Berchelt or Machado are dying to fight Tank, though, right? I don't think Berchelt and Machado want to fight Tank. I don't see them calling him out. Really?
How do you know that? They could be on Spanish media that we don't know.
Yeah, but boxing team would report it, wouldn't they?
Not necessarily. There's tons of things that happen in the boxing world that boxing does not report on.
And they're saying October, November, but I've been hearing for a few months that Gary Russell and Leo would be October, November. So my guess is this will be an undercard. What do you think? That would be a badass card. I have no problem with that card, none whatsoever. Leo versus Gary on the main.
The doubleheader would be entertaining, of course. And Leo Gary Russell is a fantastic fight. Like that in and of itself is worthy of an event. But still, just because you put a great fight on top of a not so great fight doesn't make that fight all of a sudden better. It may make the card better, but it doesn't make that fight better. Like Gervonta Davis versus Abner Mares doesn't all of a sudden become a more competitive fight because they put Gary Russell and Leo Santa Cruz on the card. That doesn't happen. It's still most likely a Gervonta Davis knockout win for Abner Mares. And quickly to your point of the criticism that Davis is receiving, Lomachenko received a ton of criticism for the Mariaga fight.
Not from the writers, though. Not from the writers.
No, you are singling out two writers. You are singling out 2 writers. You got to read more articles than that, man. You got to find more websites. But
these 2 guys are the ones that set the trends,
Okay, I'll get your point that especially Steve Kim, maybe not Dougie. Steve Kim especially sets trends. I think he's one of the leading writers in the sport, and I disagree with him on a slew of things. But still, he is one writer, and I get disagreeing with him. But to paint him as the overall narrative of the media is just not accurate. The media was very critical of Lomachenko's run to Rigondeaux. We were. I was. We all were.
Yeah, but that's YouTube media. I don't think like the mainstream media. They made like ESPN made him pound for pound king after he beat Rigo, didn't they? They said,
well, he's an ESPN fighter.
When he made Rigo quit, the fucking Joe Tessitore guy was like screaming. He was like, "Oh my God, Rigo has quit on the stool!" Like he just beat somebody like.
But legendary boxer, me and you both know that ESPN is monetarily invested in Lomachenko in Top Rank. Why do they have? Yeah, they don't have any incentive to criticize him.
Yeah, that's true.
So I understand that ESPN is this conglomerate, it's this huge network, and them not being objective inaccurate is unfortunate. I understand, and we should criticize them for it. But again, ESPN does not set the trend for boxing media. It just doesn't. Not nowadays.
Yeah, that's true. But I guess they are coming back into boxing, but I'm not really digging their commentary team. I think they need to.
Oh god, it's awful. Shit. Well, I'll be honest. The best one on the team is Joe Tessitore, and I've never been a fan of Joe Tessitore.
I think he's the worst.
Oh really?
You notice every show he shits on Mayweather. Like, look at that. Mayweather never did that. Mayweather never did that. He's talking about.
I don't notice that.
Lomachenko fighting in his first 15 fights. Like, he never talked about Mayweather's first 30 fights. He acts like Mayweather started his career at his 40th fight. That's how they act, you know. But what was I gonna say? Did you see Wilder's fucking videos, dude? Fans are fucking going crazy over there. They were like chasing his car and shit. And Eddie's like, nobody knows who Wilder is, you know. I think it's kind of good to see. All this hysteria around this fight, and nobody's really even discussing AJ versus Povetkin. Have you seen a lot of videos about that fight? I haven't at all.
Well, no, I mean, and let's be honest, there won't be. Like, Povetkin doesn't speak English.
Yeah.
AJ isn't really a guy that does a lot of media. Wilder does a lot of media. He's outspoken. Tyson Fury does a shit ton of media, and he's extremely outspoken. That's obvious that there's more media articles, videos, overall attention to Wilder Fury because it's going to do more clicks. It's going to do more views. It's more entertaining.
That's true. Yes. Fucking who do you think? You think it's next though? Do you think it's definitely happening next? Wilder Fury, or no?
Definitely no. I don't think it's definitely. I think it's a distinct possibility. I think if Fury comes out here and looks fantastic tomorrow night, I think it happens. But that's a big if because Fury didn't look good last fight.
Did you see him at the weigh-in and at the public workout? That guy looks skinny as hell now, man. Like, he probably lost 20, 30 since the last fight too.
I think he lost like 15, 20 since his last fight. Yeah, and I mean, again, I think the weight has come off great for Fury. I'm happy he's healthy, and this fight's at the very least entertaining. Like Wilder Fury, it's at the very least an entertaining, fun build-up and hype, and as a media member, as a consumer of the sport as well, I'm okay with being entertained. I know it's kind of a one-sided fight right now, but it's entertaining, and I'm completely okay with that.
Did you see the spread that GQ did on the Charlos?
Yeah, I did. I didn't even mention that. Thank you for reminding me about that. That was pretty impressive.
Heyman stopped by in his baggy suit. Did you read that line?
No, I didn't read the article. I just saw some of the pictures. But that's good. Yeah. That's good mainstream exposure for those two guys.
The writer wrote that Heyman stopped by in his baggy suit, and the Twins were really impressed. They were happy that Heyman stopped by because then now that they think Heyman's prioritizing them more and shit. So that's good. I hope they get a main event in Houston. They deserve it.
Or just a main event, period.
Yeah, co-main and co-main event. You know, that's not a co-main. They should fucking flip a fucking coin and see who goes in the main event. Why not?
True. Any other thoughts before we head out of here, Legendary Boxer?
No, man, I'm forgetting a few thoughts, but I'll call it Monday. You back Monday, right?
Yes, back Monday. And we will be back tomorrow for the live fight chat and immediate reaction to the Carl Frampton, Luke Jackson card, and obviously the Tyson Fury spectacle. Take callers for that as well. So tomorrow, probably midday, because those cards are 5 p.m. It's around the same time we usually start the show. 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific is usually the main event for UK cards. Probably start a little bit sooner because the co-main is Tyson Fury. But yes, we will be obviously live tomorrow as well. And obviously on Sunday for our Patreon-only show, Championship Rounds. We didn't do one last week because studio renovations, etc. So we're going to do one obviously this week. And we're going to have callers for the first time in Patreon podcast history for us. So, yes, that should be fun. But I believe that is it, unless Rob has joined in. No, he has not. Rob just doesn't love me. So sad. But to digress, yes, that is it for today. Oh, stop that sad music. But that is it for today, ladies and gentlemen. Final thoughts, wrapping it up. Fury Wilder, it's fun, and I think it's okay to be entertained sometimes. Like, we know it's a little bit of a sham. We know it's not really the most competitive fight right now, and it may not even happen. And we know these two guys don't really hate each other. They get along, they're friends, they text each other behind the scenes. Like, we know it's not what it appears, but what it appears to be is fun. And fun is occasionally okay. With the last 6 months we've had of the drama of Joshua and Wilder and how exhausting that negotiation process was, this is fun. And I'm okay with fun every once in a while. Leonard Sterling asking a good question, saying, Matt, you doing a Jennings versus Dimitrico live fight chat? I believe so, because Santiago wants to do it. But yes, I believe so, yes. I'm not going to say we will, because obviously the UK card is just a bigger card worldwide, but I'm probably going to do one for the ESPN card because I'm a degenerate boxing addict. You know what it is, but I've been Matt, the Hipster Hunter. You can find me at Matt Hunter, MCR, all platforms. What else? Mixed Comment Radio, patreon.com/Mixed Comment Radio. Be back tomorrow. Have a good day. Peace.